Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Premium Video Forecast discussion for Thursday, May 7th, 2020. We start off first with the stratosphere. I talked about this in the long-range thoughts today. Take a look at that. That right there. Impressive, isn't it? This is our stratospheric warming regime right now at 70 millibars. And I point this out because this is what's going to cause a almost historic negative EPO value, a continued negative NAO value, and some of the coldest weather that we've seen in quite some time for this time of year for this weekend. It's going to be below freezing in many locations, and not just way up in the peaks, up by the peaks towards the Catskills and the Poconos. This is impressive. Good news though, it's going to change. At least that's what the models are showing in about 10 days. Now, I would take this with a bit of a grain of salt. Probably won't cool this fast. But this tells us that changes are on the way, and that we should go from a pattern that is well below normal to slightly below normal, and probably by near normal by the time we get to July. But this is pretty impressive, and it's far more impressive than what we were seeing in the forecast 10 days ago at this level. So it certainly is something that you probably won't see all that often for this time of year. Impacts on the overall pattern, as you see 10 days out, very impressive below normal heights over Canada, but notice we start seeing the moderation here at 500 millibars over the United States. Now, this doesn't mean we're going to see a large ridge. It just means that the ridges are going to start to become stronger and the troughs are going to become weaker. And we can continue to see that evolution take place here in the European ensemble, guys. This is a 5-day average. Now, the key thing to remember here is that you have this area below normal heights over the northwestern Atlantic. This is a progressive pattern. You're not seeing a huge ridge here. This is a trough, ridge, trough, ridge. So you can see that it is marching its way through. Why is this important? Because when you do have a ridge here trying to drive warm air northward, this area of below normal heights supports an upper level low at some point somewhere around the Canadian Maritimes. And when you have that set up, well, you basically set up a nice wall of marine air setting up to block any of this warm air trying to surge northward from the Gulf of Mexico. And we're already starting to see that indication showing up in the 10-day forecast, and I think that we're going to see it more and more as the details of this isotropic lifting environment starts to become more clear. Okay, so definitely just be prepared for that. As far as our observations, right now we have a weak cold front that is approaching the region. Not much in the way of rainfall here, as you can see on the radar. Just a few isolated showers today. Otherwise, sky cloud cover. We got the sun out. It's actually much better than yesterday. However, trouble is still on the way. Now we have this little shortwave passing on through. Won't be that big of a deal. It's rather disorganized. Not really dealing with a lot of moisture in the atmosphere either, below a half an inch. So overall, anything that does develop is going to be very light. This, though, well, this right here is going to be a bit of a pest. Starting tomorrow afternoon on through early Saturday morning, we're going to be dealing with rain and, yes, even some snow. So let's take a look at some of the model guides to break this down. So over the next 90 hours, we have our first shortwave clearing out, and then here comes our more powerful shortwave. This was what was in the northern plains. This was way up in Canada, up here by the Hudson Bay. And it's going to drop down, and it's going to enhance this shortwave as below normal heights fall throughout the region. So you got lifting, cooling of the atmosphere, pretty strong PVA, and that's going to rotate on through the region on Saturday, keeping the atmosphere unstable. So we have cold, unstable conditions on Saturday at 500 millibars. Plenty of PVA. That means lifting. And also a rather impressive upper level low passing through the Canadian Maritimes. By Sunday, we start to see 500 millibar heights rise. So you can kind of see the progression of 500 millibars. By the time we get to Saturday night to Sunday, we start to relax a bit. In the meantime, as far as our precipitable water values are concerned, well, they're pretty dry right now. So thus, any shower that forms is going to be pretty weak. However, by the time we get to tomorrow evening, so let's go back to tomorrow afternoon, our precipitable water values start to rise. We're getting to around, let's say, right around this area, right around here, about 0.5 to 0.09. By the time we get to the evening, well, that's definitely pushing up towards 1 inch. So we're seeing moisture being introduced. So we got lifting, we got moisture, and even some of that is pushing off into the interior. Now notice over the interior, the precipitable water values are not really all that high, so the precipitation is not that strong, okay? We're not dealing with a ton of moisture here. So that's really important to consider when we start to see the storm, and all your deepest moisture gets pushes out into the Atlantic. On Saturday, we have dry air building in, and Sunday that continues with a little bit more increase in moisture transport by the time we get to the afternoon hours on Sunday. So now let's put it together. Now we have lifting, we have moisture. What about cold air? Now this is where things get a little funky, okay? So for today, there's some cool air, not incredibly cold air, so it's not too bad. Tonight on through tomorrow, we get this little bit of warm air transport. And then look at this cold air transport for tomorrow evening. Now notice it kind of hangs back a little bit as our low pressure system organizes itself along the coast. By the time we get to around 2 a.m. on Saturday, very strong cold air transport, but also very strong dry air transport. So obviously this is going to support a transition of rain over the snow over the higher elevations. Yeah, there's going to be some snow accumulation. We're talking about 1 to 3 inches on cold surfaces for the highest elevations of the Poconos and the Catskills, okay? And anyone who does get snow accumulation, even those of you in northwestern New Jersey, well, it's not going to amount to all that much, let's be honest, okay? So we're definitely seeing all that evolve here very nicely. Now, one other thing. Cold air. Cold air, Saturday afternoon. Cold air plus relatively strong 850 millibar winds. Watch out for your wind gusts on Saturday afternoon. It's going to get pretty strong. But then we start to see moderation in our air mass by the time we get to Sunday. So let's put this all together at the surface, okay? So we have our storm clear out from this morning, and we have tranquil conditions for the most part today. Watch out for an isolated shower or two. By the time we get to Friday morning, increasing cloud cover, but generally dry. Friday afternoon, showers start to develop. Friday evening, showers are widespread. Here comes our snow on the back edge here. Again, notice relatively light precipitation now. And where we're seeing the heavier precipitation, you're also seeing a great deal of mixing. So let's jump right to the evening hours. Our low pressure system moving through the Delaware River Valley. Start to see rain changing over to snow for the higher elevations, northeastern Pennsylvania, the Catskills. But notice the intensity of precipitation is much lower. And also consider your boundary layer conditions. That's your surface. So it's going to be relatively warm because, after all, it is May. So it's going to be a little difficult to accumulate. That's why I'm focusing more on cold surfaces. All that rotates on through. So I'm not looking for a lot of snow accumulation here. I know a lot of people are focusing on that, but not really looking for a lot. Most of your rainfall is down towards the coast. And a bit heavier. I would not be surprised if someone gets an inch of rain out of this. Most locations probably around a half an inch of rain by the time we get to Saturday morning. But some locations, because of the lifting and the strong PVA, it's going to be a factor. Then by the time we get to Saturday afternoon, we have a pretty strong pressure gradient here. So sustained winds at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Remember that cold air loft. It's going to mix down those winds down from 850 millibars. Thus your strong wind gusts. And also, yeah, flurries. Now, for some of you who may be saying snow flurries in May, I would like to point out that when I graduated college from Oswego, 2002. Yep, snow flurries. is wonderful. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's kind of poetic in a way. But yeah, this can happen. It's unusual, but it can happen. So when we're seeing here, don't be surprised if you get a random snow squall out of this, because you have a lot of instability in the atmosphere and also some pretty strong wind gusts. So Saturday's not going to be pretty. Then by the time we get to Sunday, we start to relax. Scattered broken cloud cover over the region, but much warmer. Saturday is just going to be very chilly. We're talking about highs in the mid to upper 40s. So upper 30s to lower 40s for the higher elevation. So yeah, not pretty at all. After that, by the time we get to the start of a new work week, I'm going to call it a work week. I know. I'm going to call it a work week. We start to see, again, a continuation of our active weather pattern with these low weak shortwave. Now notice what's happening here. This high pressure system is pushing off the coast by the end of next week. Notice the return here, okay? And then notice the cold front here. Watch this. Remember I was saying, hey, look, watch out for a roadblock starting to develop and this theme starting to show up for May into June, and kind of a very important part of the summer forecast. Look what we have here. Cold front stalls out. High pressure just to the south of Bermuda. Warm air surging northward. Oh, roadblock. Now, again, details still have to be worked out, but you can kind of see what's going on here. Cold front stalls out. Roadblock sets in. Showers everywhere. Cloud cover. Kind of raw. It's a possibility. We'll have to see where that frontal boundary sets up. By the time we get to this point by the next weekend, we could be dealing with the cold front stalling to the north of the region, which would lead to temperatures in the 60s and 70s, or to the south of the region, which means showers and temperatures in the 50s. Yeah, not so well. That is your premium video forecast discussion for today and your weekly preview. If you are not a premium membership subscriber, this is a preview of what we do every day. Pretty cool stuff, right? So definitely, if you want to subscribe, check that out as well. Have a wonderful day. As always, stay safe out there.